morning folks, and welcome to another helping of Mr H's Hot Pot. You join myself, Mrs H and the girls today in Gathurst, which is just outside of Wigan. And we've come into the wooded area, Deanwood, and we've come for a little bit of a mooch. And I'm on the trail of an old cottage that was here about 70 years ago called Milk House Cottages. And we think we've found the ruins. Now, the Milk House Cottage comprised of a well, a cottage and what appeared to be some form of outhouse. Whether or not the outhouse was to stable horses or things like that, we don't know. Because there's very little information about this area and these cottages. It's simply just marked on a map. Well, we think we found the well, which is here. Or should I say Mrs H has found it. She noticed it in the undergrowth. As you can see, square brickwork there. And that would be consistent with a well. I know there wasn't really that big on these sort of cottages, and this looks pretty substantial. How deep it goes, I don't know. Whether or not it's been filled in with rubble from the old house or not, I don't know. So I'm going to keep away from it. I'm glad we've found that, because the last thing I want to do is be walking along and natter, 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 and then next thing, gone. Although that might amuse some of you. Right then, we'll make our way to where those little outhouses was, or stables. According to the map, if the well is here, they should just be over there, and then the cottage should be further back. And we'll see what we can see. Here we are, this is a closer look of this well. I'm just tracing where the wall is now. You probably can't see it that well, thanks to that fallen tree. But there we go, forming a square. As I say, I don't know how deep that would be. You know, obviously you would get down to the water table back in the day. And how they would get the water out, I don't know whether at one time or not there was some kind of winding thing that would have been there, like a traditional well that we all imagine. I don't know. Right then, we'll make our way that away. I can see some bits of slate and that in the undergrowth, so obviously that's where the outhouse was. So let's go and find it. So here we are on what I think was an outhouse, or it may have been another smaller cottage, I don't know. It's not marked on the map as such. On the Ordnance Survey map, it's just cottages, that's all it says. Now we've found what I think is either a window ledge or a lintel. Stone, but there's still original paintwork on it, which is there. And we're definitely in an area where there's been some building of some description. There's little pieces of slate around. Let's make out the paintwork there. And a piece of slate there, obviously off the roof. Lots of bricks around. And it would appear that what they've done is they've just basically stripped the roof off it, taken out of it whatever they needed, timber and that, and they've just collapsed the walls in on one another. So I will be stood in what would have been the building now, and obviously they've just thrown the rubble inside. Now there was gardens to this. I think there was gardens sort of separating these two cottages, which we'll cross in a bit, which is just over there. And we'll take a look at the other cottage, which I think was slightly bigger according to the maps. So that'll be an interesting thing for go and have a look at, because there was supposed to be some apple trees planted in here, which are still here. Probably locals know where they are, and they come and do a little bit of apple scrumping every now and again. And there was a rose bush planted in here by an old Wiganer many, many years ago, and that's supposed to still be in here. Obviously they're not in bloom, and I don't think it's apple time of year, so we might not be able to find those trees, because I couldn't tell a tree one from another, you know, they all look same to me type of thing. Right then, we'll make our way across what would have been the gardens, which are just in front of me there. Mrs H is just panning round slowly, balancing on some rubble there. And we'll make our way over to the main house. So we're now in where the gardens would have been. It's just set back off the main path here, which has been there many, many years. Again, that path appears on the 1800s maps. So we definitely know that we're in the right field. As I was crossing over here, I've come across a milk bottle, which is rather ironic really, seeing as this was called Milk House Cottages. It doesn't appear to be very old, unfortunately, because it's got millilitres on here. So it's probably dating from about the 70s, that. £1, 568 millilitres. And comes from Rigby's farm at Grappenhall, wherever Grappenhall is. Maybe someone who's watching this video can tell me. Right then, I think at some point I'm going to return here. Whether it be winter time or not, I don't know when all this has died down. And I think I'm going to come in with the old metal detector and see what I can find. As Mrs H has pointed out, probably where the best stuff would be is now covered in rubble, you know, because like I said, they just collapsed the walls in. I believe they burnt down about 70 years ago, the cottages. They stood empty as a shell for a bit, and then somebody decided, too dangerous, demolish them. So I think I will return and have a look, probably in this area, in between them, because you never know what you can find, and that's the fun of it. But it'll probably be a bit heavy going in there if I go mooching about. I'll probably only find an old bit of lead or an old nail or something when I get to it. So we'll make our way through there now, which is where I think the main cottage was. I've not spotted those apple trees yet, Mrs H, or that rose bush.
Could do with finding an apple tree.
We could, yeah. We could. I don't know whether they'd be, you can have them though, you can eat them.
Yeah, they're probably crab apples.
Yeah, they're probably crab apple trees. Like I said, I bet locals know where they are, local kids. You know. But, not to worry, we'll take a look in there, see what else we can find. Hopefully find something better and more substantial than a milk bottle. Well, this is the wall to that main building, you can just see it here. And I should imagine I'm stood on what would have been an original path, as it appears like there's been a wall, a retaining wall of some description here. Where this path would have led, I don't know, probably into that yard as we've just been looking at. So, thinking about it, where would you say the gardens would have been, Mrs H? Do you think they would have been over to that side, and this would have been sort of side at cottage, or do you think in front there where Rose is mooching about was probably more likely where they would be?
Yeah, probably at the front.
Yeah, I mean it does overlook a field just over there, there's like a big field there.
Can't see it very well.
You can't see it very well, it's just through them trees, about 3 trees forward, but you don't know whether that was originally a field or not, and all this was fields, you just don't know, do you? Because as I said, it doesn't show you very well on the old Ordnance Survey maps. You just get a little circle around and with a little tree on it, and that denotes a wood. It doesn't tell you what size is. But yeah, we've certainly found them. As I said, again, all rubble sort of inside. It's as though they just push walls in on it. And it would have been done by hand when they demolished it back then, Mrs H. There'd been no big machinery or anything. It would have been a man and a sledgehammer, I should imagine.
Didn't look like they were particularly very big.
Well, there wasn't back in the day. It wasn't. I mean, I don't know if camera will pick that up in there or not. You can just see where there's some rotten timber, and it doesn't appear to be from a tree.
Just 1 minute. Yeah.
Right in front of you there, you can see where there's been some what look appear to be parts of beams. We've seen this a lot, haven't we, on ruins and that we've been looking at. Yeah, this looks like a little path. I think there is a path on it. I'll try and splice a photograph of this area, an overhead of the Ordnance Survey maps. You shouldn't really do that, copyright and all that, but worst they can do is make me take it down. And this is just denoted as little dots. So that's a really old path there as you're on there, Mrs H. That's definitely worth doing with the metal detector. Yeah, I think the actual gardens would have been here, because there's some holly bushes in here. And do you know why cottages used to have a lot of holly in it, Mrs H?
Is it something about evil spirits? Have you told me this?
It is indeed, yeah. It's, they believed it kept the devil away. There's actually a stone up in Longridge, standing stone or something, and that has an holly bush all around it because they believe the devil's trapped underneath it. That's something we may look at one day. Hot potters? Right, we'll have a little mooch around this area now and see if we can find those apple trees or that rose bush. I've certainly seen the holly bushes in here, so I think we are in the gardens. And then we'll wrap this one up because unfortunately there's not a lot to see. I will return here, in the words of General MacArthur, with the old metal detector one day.
I'll go shopping.
Sorry, Mrs H.
I'll go shopping that day.
I always say that I'll return to these places, and I never do, but this is calling me with the old detector, Mrs H. Right then, we'll see if we can find those trees, and then, like I said, we'll wrap this one up. Well, folks, we've had a little mooch around what would have been the gardens to Milk House Cottages, and we can't find anything. We've found the retaining stone wall, which is just around the edge there, and then like I said, the field's just over there. That opening there gives you an idea of where the field is. The only thing that we have found is this holly bush, which is massive. You know, it will have been if it's been allowed to just grow and grow for 70 years. And obviously there's little bits of offsprings further around it. I should imagine that the outer trees would have enclosed these gardens at one time. But as I say, it's very difficult to take a look at a map and then imagine it, and then when you actually get in here, it just all looks overgrown, unfortunately. Bit of a shame, but there you go. I definitely will return, like I keep saying, with the metal detector. So until then, really, that's it from Milk House Cottages. Me and Mrs H now are going to get out of here because it's a bit claustrophobic and there's like a garlicky smell in here, isn't there, Mrs H?
There is.
Which Mrs H doesn't like. So, until the next time, from myself, from Mrs H, and as always the girls, it is bye-bye for now.